Watch, Ibrahim Traoré dismantles Western influence in one powerful message. The world wasn't ready for what Ibrahim Traoré just said. In one speech, he exposed decades of foreign control and sent a message that's shaking global powers. Stay with us, this is the moment Africa stood up. Africa has been silent for too long, but not anymore. Ibrahim Traoré just said what millions were thinking. This isn't just a speech, it's a declaration of freedom. Watch how he dismantled Western influence in minutes. Every African needs to hear this. Every leader needs to learn from it. Ibrahim Traoré just changed the conversation and the way forward. This is more than words, it's a movement and a bold and history-making address. President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso delivers a message that shakes the foundation of Western political and economic dominance in Africa. With unmatched clarity and courage, Traoré calls out centuries of exploitation and unveils a new path for African unity, sovereignty, and self-reliance. This video breaks down every key moment of Traoré's explosive speech that is now going viral across the continent and the world. From challenging foreign control to empowering the youth of Africa, this is a message every African and global citizen needs to hear. What you'll see in this video: Ibrahim Traoré's full message to Western powers. Why his words are igniting a wave of Pan-African support. Global reactions to his anti-colonial stance. The growing resistance to Western intervention in Africa. How Traoré is becoming the face of a new African revolution. Africa is no longer silent. A new era has begun. President Traoré is proving that one voice can shake the world and awaken a continent. Join the movement. Do you support Traoré's message? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and subscribe for more bold leadership moments from Africa. Ibrahim Traoré's full message to Western powers. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's interim president since the September 2022 coup, has articulated a bold and uncompromising message to Western powers, rooted in anti-imperialism and a demand for African sovereignty. His rhetoric challenges the historical and ongoing influence of Western nations, particularly France, the United States, and their allies, in African affairs. His message is delivered through speeches, policy actions, and symbolic gestures, positioning Burkina Faso as a frontline state in the fight against neo-colonialism. Key elements of his message include rejection of economic dependency. Traoré has repeatedly criticized the CFA franc, a currency used by 14 African countries and tied to the euro, as a mechanism of French control that limits economic autonomy. In a July 2024 speech at the Alliance of Sahel States (AES) summit, he stated, "The CFA franc makes us pay 5 times more to trade with China or Russia than with Europe. This is economic slavery." He has pledged to introduce a new currency, potentially modeled on Mali's post-ECOWAS plans, to enable Burkina Faso to control its monetary policy and trade freely with non-Western partners. Security sovereignty and anti-terrorism narrative. Traoré accuses Western powers of exploiting Africa's security challenges to justify military presence. He claims that terrorism in the Sahel, which has killed over 20,000 Burkinabés since 2016, is fueled by Western interests to destabilize resource-rich regions. At Russia's 2025 Victory Day commemoration, he declared, "What we are experiencing is not terrorism. It is imperialism disguised as chaos to keep us weak." His expulsion of French troops in February 2023 and termination of military agreements with France underscore his commitment to ending foreign military dominance. Cultural and political decolonization. Traoré has sought to dismantle colonial legacies in Burkina Faso's institutions. In March 2023, he banned British-style legal wigs in courts, replacing them with traditional Burkinabe attire, arguing that such symbols perpetuate a colonial mindset. He has also promoted national languages like Moor and Dioula in official settings, echoing Thomas Sankara's cultural nationalism. Politically, he rejects Western liberal democracy, stating at a Kuluba Palace ceremony in April 2025, "Democracy has not developed a single nation in Africa. We are in a progressive popular revolution to build a system that serves our people." Criticism of Western aid and institutions. Traoré views Western aid as a tool for control rather than development. In a 2023 interview, he remarked, "For 63 years, we received French aid, yet our schools are crumbling and our people are hungry. Cutting it off will not kill us, it will free us." He has also criticized the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank for imposing structural adjustment programs that prioritize debt repayment over human development, aligning with a broader African critique of these institutions. Call for global realignment. Traoré advocates for partnerships with non-Western powers like Russia, China, and Turkey to counterbalance Western influence. His government has signed agreements with Russia for military support and with Turkey for mining cooperation, reflecting a strategic pivot. He frames this as a reclamation of Burkina Faso's right to choose its allies, stating at the 2024 AES summit, "We will work with those who respect our sovereignty, not those who dictate our future." This message resonates with a generation disillusioned by post-colonial arrangements and has positioned Traoré as a vocal critic of Western hegemony, drawing both admiration and condemnation. Why his words are igniting a wave of Pan-African support. Traoré's rhetoric and actions have sparked a surge of Pan-African support, particularly among Africa's youth, who make up over 60% of the continent's 1.4 billion people and the global African diaspora. His appeal stems from a combination of his revolutionary stance, relatable persona, and strategic use of modern platforms. The following factors explain this phenomenon. Youthful and relatable leadership. At 37, Traoré is one of the youngest heads of state globally, resonating with a generation frustrated by aging, often corrupt, political elites. A geology graduate and career soldier who fought jihadists on the front lines, Traoré embodies a hands-on, authentic leadership style. His informal speeches, often delivered in military fatigues, contrast with the polished demeanor of Western-backed leaders, earning him nicknames like Africa's Che Guevara on X anti-imperialist resonance. Traoré's expulsion of French troops, closure of French media outlets like RFI, and rejection of Western aid tap into widespread resentment of neo-colonialism. His rhetoric echoes the Pan-Africanist ideals of Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, and Thomas Sankara, who championed self-reliance. For instance, his statement, "We are not enemies of the West, but we will not be their slaves," Ouagadougou Rally, October 2023, has been widely shared across African social media. Social media and cultural amplification. Traoré's image is amplified by a sophisticated social media campaign. TikTok videos and AI-generated imagery portray him as a modern Sankara, often set to Afrobeat or revolutionary anthems. Posts on X describe him as a beacon of hope or Africa's lion, with hashtags like #TraoréRising trending in 2024. This digital presence has made him a cultural icon, particularly among urban youth in Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. Alliance of Sahel States, AES. Traoré's leadership in forming the AES with Mali and Niger in 2023 signals a commitment to regional unity against Western influence. The AES's withdrawal from ECOWAS, a West African bloc seen as pro-Western, and its plans for a shared currency and defense pact have inspired Pan-Africanists who dream of a united Africa. At the 2024 AES summit, Traoré declared, "Our unity is our strength. The Sahel will lead Africa's liberation." Tangible reforms. Traoré's policies, such as nationalizing gold mines, banning raw gold exports, and investing in agriculture, address long-standing grievances about resource exploitation. Burkina Faso's gold production, which accounts for 10% of GDP, has been redirected to fund infrastructure, with GDP growth from $18.8 billion in 2022 to $22.1 billion in 2024. These achievements counter Western predictions of economic collapse, bolstering his credibility. Diaspora engagement. The African diaspora, particularly in Europe and North America, has rallied behind Traoré. Protests in London, New York, and Paris with slogans like "Hands off Burkina Faso" and "Support Traoré" reflect his global appeal. Pan-African organizations like the All-African People's Revolutionary Party have invited him to speak at events, amplifying his message. This wave of support is evident in rallies across African capitals, viral social media campaigns, and endorsements from figures like Zimbabwean activist Linda Tsvangirai Masarira, who called Traoré a golden son of Africa's liberation. On X in 2024. Global reactions to his anti-colonial stance. Traoré's anti-colonial stance has provoked a spectrum of reactions globally, reflecting both his influence and the geopolitical tensions surrounding his leadership. Support from Africa and the diaspora. Traoré is a hero to many Africans and diaspora communities. At Ghana's 2025 presidential inauguration, he received a standing ovation from crowds, outshining other leaders. Pan-African groups like the Black Alliance for Peace have praised his unapologetic defiance of Western hegemony. Social media platforms like X are flooded with posts calling him Africa's liberator, with Nigerian and Kenyan influencers organizing online campaigns to defend him against Western criticism. Protests in Jamaica, South Africa, and Vienna in 2024 demanded "Hands off Traoré," reflecting his global resonance. Endorsement from non-Western powers. Russia, China, and Turkey have embraced Traoré's stance to expand their influence in Africa. Russia has provided military support, including 300 Africa Corps paramilitary personnel in 2024, and Traoré's attendance at Russia's 2025 Victory Day parade solidified this partnership. China has invested in Burkina Faso's infrastructure, while Turkey has signed a 2024 mining agreement, positioning these nations as alternatives to Western partners. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov praised Traoré as a partner in sovereignty in May 2025 Western hostility. Western powers, particularly France and the United States, have reacted with alarm. French President Emmanuel Macron, in a 2024 Sierra Leonean Lyons Monde interview, called Traoré's alliances with Russia a Baroque betrayal, reflecting France's loss of influence after its troops were expelled. The U.S. has imposed sanctions on Burkinabe officials and accused Traoré of misusing gold revenues, a claim he dismissed as imperialist lies in a 2025 speech. Western media outlets like The Economist and BBC often portray him as an authoritarian, citing his suspension of elections and arrests of critics. Skepticism and caution. Some African analysts express concern about Traoré's trajectory. Nigerian scholar Chidi Odinkalu warned in a 2024 article that military rulers often start as liberators but become oppressors, citing Uganda's Yoweri Museveni. Others question Traoré's reliance on Russian propaganda, such as exaggerated claims of building a nuclear power plant, which lacks evidence. South African political scientist Sifo Seep noted, Traoré's vision is inspiring, but revolutions without structure risk collapse. Neutral observers. International organizations like the African Union, AU, have taken a cautious stance, suspending Burkina Faso after the 2022 coup but engaging with Traoré at summits. The AU's 2024 report on the Sahel acknowledged the popular support for anti-Western sentiment but urged dialogue to prevent regional instability. These reactions highlight a global divide. Africa and its allies see Traoré as a revolutionary, while Western powers view him as a threat to their strategic interests, particularly in the resource-rich Sahel. The growing resistance to Western intervention in Africa. The rise of Traoré is part of a broader movement across Africa, particularly in the Sahel, to resist Western intervention, which many view as a continuation of colonial exploitation. This resistance is fueled by historical grievances, recent geopolitical shifts, and growing public discontent. Key drivers include legacy of Francafrique, France's post-colonial influence through the CFA franc, military bases, and economic agreements has long been criticized as Francafrique. In Burkina Faso, France controlled 70% of mining contracts before Traoré's coup. His expulsion of French troops and media and withdrawal from the International Organization of Francophone States in 2023 reflect a broader rejection of this system, mirrored in Mali and Niger. Wave of coups. Since 2020, coups in Mali, 2020, 2021, Guinea, 2021, Burkina Faso, 2022, and Niger, 2023, have targeted Western-backed governments perceived as corrupt or ineffective. These juntas have expelled French forces, with Mali ending Operation Barkhane in 2022 and Niger closing U.S. bases in 2024. Leaders like Mali's Assimi Goïta and Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani share Traoré's anti-Western rhetoric, forming a regional bloc of resistance. Western double standards. The 2011 NATO intervention in Libya, which destabilized the Sahel by spreading arms and fighters, is a rallying point for critics. Traoré and others argue that Western interventions, often justified as humanitarian or anti-terrorist, prioritize resource control. A 2024 X post by a Malian activist stated, Libya was Africa's wake-up call. Traoré is our answer. Alliance of Sahel States, AES. The AES, formed in 2023 by Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, is a direct challenge to ECOWAS, which is seen as aligned with Western interests. The AES has withdrawn from ECOWAS, imposed tariffs on Western goods, and proposed a shared currency to replace the CFA franc. A 2024 AES report claimed a 15% increase in intra-regional trade, signaling economic defiance. Public sentiment and data. Afrobarometer surveys from 2024 show 66% of Burkinabe support military rule, compared to 24% in 2012, reflecting distrust in Western-backed civilian governments. Similar trends appear in Mali, 69%, and Niger, 62%. Social media campaigns on X, with hashtags like #NoMoreWest, amplify calls for sovereignty. Risks of new dependencies. Critics warn that aligning with Russia or China may replace one form of exploitation with another. Russia's Wagner Group, now Africa Corps, has been accused of human rights abuses in Mali, and China's debt-financed infrastructure projects raise concerns about long-term obligations. A 2024 Al Jazeera report noted that Burkina Faso's trade with Russia grew by 40%, but much of it involves arms rather than development. This resistance is reshaping Africa's geopolitical landscape, with the Sahel as its epicenter, but it faces challenges in balancing sovereignty with sustainable development. How Traoré is becoming the face of a new African revolution. Ibrahim Traoré's emergence as the face of a new African revolution draws on his alignment with historical revolutionary figures, bold reforms, and symbolic resonance. He is often compared to Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's iconic leader who was assassinated in 1987 for his anti-imperialist policies. Traoré's leadership combines practical governance with a powerful narrative of liberation, making him a symbol of hope and defiance. Key aspects include radical policy reforms. Traoré has implemented policies to retain Burkina Faso's wealth and reduce dependency. He nationalized 60% of gold mines, banned raw gold exports in 2023, and established a state-owned gold refinery in 2024, increasing government revenue by 25%. Investments in agriculture, including tomato and cotton processing plants, have boosted rural employment by 10%, per a 2024 government report. These echo Sankara's focus on self-sufficiency. Cultural renaissance. Traoré's promotion of national languages and traditional attire over colonial symbols fosters cultural pride. His 2023 decree mandating more in schools has been praised by educators as reclaiming our identity. This cultural revival resonates with Pan-Africanists seeking to decolonize African institutions, Pan-African leadership. Through the AES, Traoré advocates for African unity and collective defense against external threats. His speeches, like one at the 2024 AES summit where he said, "The Sahel will light the path for Africa's true independence," draw on Nkrumah's vision of a united continent. His invitation to speak at the 2025 Pan-African Congress in Kampala underscores his growing influence. Resilience against threats. Traoré's survival of over 200 alleged coup attempts, including a poisoning plot in April 2025, enhances his image as a defiant leader. He has accused Western-backed states like Ivory Coast of orchestrating these plots, a claim that resonates with supporters who see him as a target of imperialism. His refusal of IMF loans, despite sanctions, reinforces his revolutionary credentials. Global iconography. Traoré's image, often in military fatigues with a Pan-African flag, has become a symbol of resistance. Social media campaigns depict him as Africa's Messiah or the new Sankara, with murals appearing in cities like Lagos and Nairobi. A 2024 TikTok video of Traoré inspecting a gold mine garnered 10 million views, captioned, "Africa's Wealth for Africans." Protests in the diaspora, from London to Atlanta, feature his likeness alongside Sankara and Lumumba. Challenges and criticisms. Traoré's reliance on military rule raises concerns about democratic backsliding. His government's arrest of journalists and opposition figures in 2023 drew criticism from Human Rights Watch. Security remains a challenge, with jihadist groups controlling 40% of Burkina Faso's territory, per a 2024 UN report. Economic isolation from Western sanctions also risks inflation, with food prices rising 15% in 2024. Despite these challenges, Traoré's blend of action, rhetoric, and symbolism has made him a potent symbol of a new African revolution, inspiring hope while facing the daunting task of translating vision into sustainable progress. Conclusion. Ibrahim Traoré's message to Western powers is a clarion call for African sovereignty, rejecting economic dependency, foreign military presence, and cultural colonialism. His words have ignited Pan-African support by resonating with youth, leveraging social media, and promoting regional unity through the AES. Global reactions are polarized, with Africa and non-Western powers embracing him, while Western nations criticize his anti-colonial stance as destabilizing. The broader resistance to Western intervention, fueled by historical grievances and recent coups, positions Traoré as a leader in a shifting geopolitical landscape. His emergence as the face of a new African revolution draws on bold reforms, cultural revival, and symbolic defiance, though challenges like security threats and authoritarian risks loom large. Traoré's leadership represents both a powerful vision for African liberation and a high-stakes gamble in a complex global arena.